Hello, welcome to the second TED's Talks. And we've got a slightly different audience in today. As you can see there, going to the other side. Look at that. Oh, look at that big smiley face. Really keen to hear what amazing gem of wisdom I may or may not impart on you today. So, where are we? It is the 11th of January. So 11 days into the new year. I guess all the thoughts about New Year's resolutions is kind of wearing off now, and maybe people that made these such resolutions have already broken them, whatever. So kind of my thoughts around that, and about this whole thing about being kind, which was something that really popped up during the time of COVID. Where everyone realised it was actually a good idea to be nice to other people. Which brings me back to resolutions, or I'd like to think of them as New Year revolutions. But then going into it in even more thought, actually, it's a really big thing. And the idea of making resolutions for a new year is a very sort of demanding and potentially time-consuming thing to have to do. You're giving yourself an order. It all feels very sort of macho, aggressive. I'm going to make this list of things and I'm going to do them. I'm going to get amazingly fit and I'm going to lose loads of weight, and they're big things. They're big things, and it's all very well saying something like, okay, for example, I'm going to give up smoking this year. That's just an example. And that's all. It's the hardest bit is getting to that point. So it's about taking things in small steps. So I sort of like to think that we're going to set ourselves an intention rather than we've resolved to do it. It's going to be done. Come hell or high water, it will be done. And this is a language thing, because my intention to give something up or to do something that I'm not doing at the moment, it's just for me. It should be just for me, about what I think and how I feel about myself. So it feels kinder to myself to say I'm going to set an intention. So whereas my desired goal, if you like, again, I don't like that term goal. The point I'd like to get to is to have lost some weight, or to look after my health better, something like that. It's the small steps. So it might be that just this one day, I'm going to make sure that I drink an extra glass of water. It might be that if I was a smoker, that I might say I'm going to smoke one less today. And it's doing everything in small steps. At the same time, that's about being kind to ourselves. I think a lot of the time, if we set ourselves a resolution, we don't go through with it or complete it because it's just too hard. It's just too tough on ourselves, and we don't need any extra being tough on ourselves, quite frankly. On top of that, trying to start something brand new on the 1st of January or going forward, we're still very much in the depths of midwinter. Okay, we've passed the shortest day. The nights are starting to get a little bit brighter, except they're not, because it's grey and wet and miserly and blur, and so sometimes it even seems to be getting darker earlier. Now is not the time to be jumping up and saying, I'm going to create a whole new me. Surely spring is the time for that kind of thing. So if you have been thinking about making a positive change, do it gently. Be kind to yourself about it. Which brings me quite neatly on. I'm quite proud of myself for that, because none of this is scripted. About being kind. and the benefits of doing that, not only to ourselves, but for, obviously for those we're being kind to. I was shared a really good article that was in The Guardian on Boxing Day, and I'll put a link to it underneath this video so you can have a read about the acts of kindness. And I thought it described it really well. But evidence, scientific evidence has proven that you get a buzz out of doing something good for somebody else. So, is that making it a truly an act of kindness, or is there some selfishness in there? And if there is, it's probably okay. We think of being selfish as a negative thing, which of course sometimes it can be, but it's also about looking after ourselves. And you may or may not be aware of, you can't give from an empty cup. So there has to be an element of us looking after ourselves before we have anything to give to anybody else. So we have to fill our own cups. And that means being selfish sometimes. That means saying no to something. And if you've got a lot of demands on you, if you feel like you're always there for other people, doing things for other people, waiting to hear back from other people about things, sometimes I need to say, no, I'm not going to do this because I need this time just for me. However, for example, I tried to organise a litter pick for our street at the weekend. I did organise it. Just what happened was the weather. It was so atrociously wet that I thought nobody's going to enjoy this at all. And obviously picking up someone else's rubbish is not a fun thing. But the sense of achievement afterwards and seeing the results is what for me makes it worthwhile, as well as meeting up with people from my street who I don't see, I don't know that well either, but every so often we come together and we have a little chat and a laugh, and that's really nice. So that got postponed, but we will do that again. But this is about sort of looking out for each other and doing things for other people that will help make their lives better. But in turn, it gives me that little buzz, that adrenaline buzz, that feeling that I've done something really nice for someone and they've appreciated it. I don't always know whether they have or not. I mean, litter picking, for example, you don't know. I think, did I share my theory about litter dropping? I'm not sure. But I've got this theory, it's just one I've made up myself, that, why do people drop litter? And I think, well, because they don't care. And that's because they don't care about themselves, because they don't feel anyone actually cares about them. So why should they care about anything else? Do you see, does that make sense? So if I were to show some care towards someone else, do something nice for them, and it might just be a wave across the street to somebody who maybe doesn't get anyone saying hello to them usually, that could have that ripple effect of them feeling just that little bit better about themselves. Eventually they may think, oh, I'm not going to drop this on the floor, I'm going to stick it in my pocket and then put it in the bin. There's a lot of stages in between that, but that's my thinking behind it. But going back to doing the kind things for other people, there are times, and I remember once a good friend said she used to always like to go and volunteer with Shelter, one of the big homeless charities in London, on Christmas Day. Now, I think that is a thing that some people choose to do, but she stopped doing it because she said the actual people who were coming in, the people who were there because they were homeless, weren't at all grateful because they knew that she was only there once a year to make herself feel good, basically. I mean, sure, I guess the other volunteers, the regular ones, probably got some time off and that was great. But actually in that particular situation, she acknowledged she was doing that for herself, and that the actual people were coming to the project could see that this wasn't any sort of long-term commitment. So she acknowledged that and has chosen to do some different things. So, and it might be that perhaps she in future she's perhaps donates regularly instead, because she can't give that physical time to go and volunteer at that project, but she could do a monthly donation to shelter or whatever. So there's some thought needed, but on the whole, doing something kind could just be saying hello and giving a smile to someone in the street. Yes, they might think you're nuts, but does that really matter? It might put a smile on their face. It might not. They may actually give you a really, like, what? Who are you? Why are you talking to me? And yeah, I've had that as well. But I just like to think to myself that maybe later on that somehow seeped in and just made them feel just a little bit better about their day. And then any other interactions they went on to have with other people just maybe had a more positive slant on it. It's the knock-on effect, it's the ripple effect. Doing one good positive thing can trigger off something else. And even if I never know if that has happened, I believe in my heart of hearts, or whatever it is, I have faith, if you like, that works. So I'm going to keep on doing it. Okay, thank you. Goodbye.